Welcome to Sky High Coaching Conversations. I'm Janelle Ryan, global personal coach and author of Become Extraordinary, joining you from the coastline of Australia. This podcast is raw and unedited, just like life. I work with high-performing professionals, entrepreneurs, and elite athletes who are ready to expand their minds into new ways of thinking, create what once felt impossible, and lead themselves and others with confidence. If you're a self-led human who loves growth, truth, intuition, and a lot of laughs, you're in the right place. I'm so happy you're here. Let's dive in. Welcome back, or welcome to Sky High Coaching Conversations. I'm Janelle Ryan. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to start with a funny story. We are 2 days away from the Easter weekend, and I've been walking around all morning whistling Christmas carols. Don't know why, but I thought it was really funny, and I thought it would be fun to share it with you today. That's not what we're here to talk about today, so let's dive into today's episode. One of the reasons women seek me out is because on paper, their life looks fine, sometimes more than fine, successful even. They're capable women, they're intelligent women, they're women who get things done, women other people rely on, women who can keep a lot of plates spinning without anyone ever realising that one of them is on fire. But underneath all of that, sometimes something feels off. They feel unfulfilled or unhappy or restless. And sometimes they can't even explain it properly. They only know that they can't keep doing life in exactly the same way they're doing it today. So they sit in front of me. I'm always very happy to see them. And I ask them a question that sounds kind of obvious and actually very simple. What do you want? And some women can't answer it. Now, to be fair, sometimes that is true. Sometimes we are in a season where we can't yet answer that question. We're in the middle of change or grief or transition. Maybe we're exhausted or something in her life is still unfolding. That can happen, and she just can't answer that question right now. But I don't think that's most of the time, not in my experience anyway. Most of the time, I don't think that there isn't an answer. I think in that moment she can't access it, or at least she thinks she can't. And that part matters, because I don't believe it's always true that she has no answer. I think that in that moment, it's not available to her. These women can usually tell me what isn't working very quickly, actually. They can tell me what's draining them, frustrating them, what's making them feel sad, what's making them irritated and annoyed, what's making them feel rage, or simply what's gone flat or what no longer fits. They can tell me very quickly what they don't want anymore. That part is often crystal clear. But when I ask what they do want, they get this look, this blank look in their eye, and I know for them everything is going foggy, like they can't see it. And that fog is interesting to me because a lot of women make the fog mean, oh my God, I have no idea what I want. And they almost come down on themselves about it. They feel bad about it. Oh, I don't have any vision. But I don't think that's always what's happening. I think very often the deeper truth is there. It just doesn't yet feel safe enough to access. And that, my beautiful friend, is very different. Because if I ask you what you don't want, you'll often have plenty to say. Of course you will, because you have evidence. You've lived it, or you're living it. You know how it feels. You know the cost of staying in the wrong role, the wrong relationship, the wrong health, the wrong rhythm, the wrong version of yourself. You know the heaviness, the pressure, the disconnect, the flatness, the quiet dissatisfaction that follows you around even when life looks really good from the outside. You know that part because you've experienced it or you are experiencing it, can't say that word today, in that moment. But what you do want is often quieter. It's more vulnerable. It's less practiced. And sometimes saying it out loud makes it real, maybe almost too real. And the moment it becomes real, you also have to face everything that may come with it. What if I go for it and it doesn't work? What if I want more and people don't like it? What if I want something different and it changes my relationships, my identity, my work, my sense of who I am? What if I can no longer hide behind being busy, capable, responsible, the good girl? So no, I don't think women are always lost when they say they don't know what they want. I think sometimes they're standing very close to something real, and real things can feel risky. That's why I don't think this is always a clarity problem. Sometimes it's a safety problem. Sometimes the issue isn't that there's no answer. It's that the answer is buried under fear, pressure, conditioning, practicality, responsibility, and years of being rewarded for being a good girl and or for staying functional. And let's be honest, high-performing women are very good at staying functional. They can keep the wheels turning beautifully while quietly coming undone inside. They can keep performing competence while feeling deeply disconnected from themselves. They can make everyone else feel comfortable while having less and less access to their own truth. So when I sit with a woman and ask, what do you want? What do you want? And she goes blank, I don't immediately think, oh, well, this woman has no vision. I think something in here doesn't yet feel safe enough to touch. And that changes the whole conversation. Because when we think the problem is a lack of vision, we try to solve it from the neck up. We think harder, analyse harder, make another list, go for another walk, download another notebook, ask ourselves for the 17th time what we want from life as though the answer is going to appear because we used a nicer notebook. But sometimes that isn't the doorway. Sometimes the doorway is softer than that. Sometimes the real question isn't, what do I want? But what's making it hard for me to access what I want? What feels risky here? What am I protecting myself from? What might I have to face if I let myself know the truth? And those are different questions, and they often get us much closer. Because maybe the future isn't blank, maybe it just feels dangerous. A promotion isn't always a promotion. Sometimes it's more visibility, more scrutiny, more leadership, more expectation. A new business isn't always just a new business. Sometimes it's exposure, it's risk, believe me, I know. It's being seen, it's owning your voice. It's no longer hiding behind someone else's structure. A new health regime is not always just a new health regime. It's time away from your family, your work or business, your partner. It's making yourself a priority in a way you may not be used to. You may not have made yourself a priority in this way for many years. Leaving an unfulfilling relationship isn't always just leaving a relationship. It's feeling like you've let someone down or you're hurting someone and you're also stepping into the unknown. And embracing dating isn't always embracing dating. It's possible rejection. A more meaningful chapter isn't always simply a lovely idea. Sometimes it means loosening your grip on the title, role, pace, identity, or lifestyle that has held your life together for years. So, of course, women get foggy. Of course they do. Not because they're incapable of clarity, but because clarity would require them to admit what they want and then feel everything that comes with wanting it. And that, my friend, is really brave work. Now, there's a psychological concept called approach avoidance conflict. And I think it explains it really beautifully. It's when the same thing pulls you in two directions. Part of you wants it, part of you fears it. So part of you is drawn towards the expansion, but part of you wants to stay where it's familiar, where it's safe. Part of you wants the new chapter. Part of you would also like a guarantee and a map and a little emotional support snack. From the outside, that can look like confusion, but sometimes it isn't confusion at all. Sometimes it's conflict. Sometimes it's self-protection. Sometimes it's your nervous system saying, I'd rather keep you uncertain than let you be disappointed, exposed, or changed. And that's why I believe clarity is not always a thinking task. Sometimes it's a nervous system task. Sometimes the next chapter becomes visible when a woman becomes steadier in herself, when she can stay with the truth for longer without immediately shutting it down, when she can want something without instantly taking herself out of it, when she can hear her own desire without fear grabbing the microphone. Because fear is loud. Fear is extremely efficient. Fear will arrive with a clipboard, a PowerPoint presentation, and 15 reasons why this is a terrible idea. Desire is usually quieter. It asks more of us. It asks for honesty. It asks for courage. It asks for self-trust. It asks, try saying that 10 times fast. It asks us to become the kind of woman who can hold what she says she wants. And that's why so many women think they don't know. Not because there's nothing there, because what is there matters. And when something matters, fear gets involved. So what do? We stop treating fog as proof. We stop assuming that lack of access means lack of truth. We stop making ourselves wrong for not having a clean, polished answer on command. Instead, we get curious. Maybe I do know more than I think. Maybe I felt it in flashes. Maybe I've sensed it in quiet moments. Maybe I've brushed up against it before, but every time I get close, fear talks over the top of it. That feels more honest to me. And from there, the work is not to force a perfect vision. The work is to become steady enough to tell yourself the truth. This is what I want. This is what scares me about it. This is who I will need to be if I'm going to move towards it anyway. That's where things begin to shift. Not because life becomes certain, not because all fear disappears, absolutely not, but because you're no longer using vagueness to protect yourself from your own deeper knowing. And when that happens, my beautiful friend, the fog starts to lift. Maybe gently, maybe gradually, but truthfully. Because I think many women are far less disconnected from their future than they believe. I think they're often standing right on the edge of something that matters, with a nervous system that isn't yet convinced it's safe to want it. And that is a deeply human place to be. It's also a place from where so much can change. And that's exactly why I created the Soft Strength Salon, because this is the work. Not more performing, not more overthinking, not more trying to look fine while quietly abandoning yourself. This is where we go underneath the hesitation, the self-protection, the silence, the sharpness, the over-functioning, the good little girl, the old patterns that once kept you safe but no longer let you live fully. This is where you learn to hear yourself more clearly, trust yourself more deeply, speak more cleanly, lead more honestly, and build that kind of quiet, unshakable strength that changes what happens next. Because for many women, the next chapter doesn't come into focus because they thought harder. It comes into focus because they became safer telling themselves the truth. Thank you for being here with me today. Thank you for listening. And if this episode hit home, if you can feel there is something here for you, if you feel there's something waiting for you, even if you haven't been able to fully access it yet, I want you to know, I want you to hear, this is not failure. It doesn't mean you're behind. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. And it certainly doesn't mean there's nothing here. It may simply mean that some wiser, deeper part of you is waiting for a little more safety, a little more steadiness, a little more honesty before it's able to come fully into view. And if you're ready for that, if you're ready to do that with me as your coach, if you're ready to stop circling the question and begin meeting yourself more truthfully, then perhaps this is your invitation. The Soft Strength Salon is where we do this work in depth. It's for intelligent women who are ready to stop editing themselves and start speaking, leading, and living with quiet, unshakable strength. I'll pop the details for you in the show notes. I'll also pop the details in for a couple of free resources, some free gifts I have available right now. And wherever this finds you today, I hope it leaves you with a little more compassion for yourself. Because not being able to access the answer right now does not mean the answer isn't there. Until next time, continue expanding, creating, and leading. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I'll meet you right here on the airwaves next time. Bye.
Thank you for being here for another Sky High coaching conversation. If today expanded something in you, trust it and allow it to lead you to your next step. Take what landed, leave what didn't, and keep creating the life and vocation that feels unmistakably yours. Until next time, keep expanding, keep creating, and keep leading with clarity, courage, and a little magic.